welcome to Gefet in the Daf. I'm Yael Shimoni, bringing to you learning in depth near Daf Yomi with Yeshivat Drisha and Hadran. And today I want to learn an interesting sugya in Daf Gefet that I think is an important piece in the whole picture of Sotah. And the question that we'll be dealing with is, what about the man? Okay, we talk a lot about the woman, the Sotah, but there are men in the story also. There's the husband, and then there's the Boel. What about them? Where are they in this picture? And as we will see, the sugya discusses not only the man that the Sotah was doing the avon with, also talking about the husband. And as we will see, that the husband also has to be naki from avon, and we want to learn what kind of avon are we discussing here. And we'll see an interesting machloket in the Rishonim. So let's begin. We're starting in the Mishnah in Daf Chav Zayin. It's a long Mishnah because it adds all kinds of Mishnah together, but the first part of the Mishnah is the one that's meaningful to us. It says the Mishnah in Daf Chav Zayin Amud Bet, Keshem shehamayim bodkim ota, kach hamayim bodkim oto, sheneemar uvau uvau. Okay, so the Mishnah says the water checks her, and the water also checks him, also the man. Sheneemar uvau uvau. The Gemara in Daf Kaf asks, Keshem shehamayim bodkim oto. Asks the Gemara, who is this oto? Who is the man? Which man are we talking about? And then the Gemara has an interesting idea. Leman, ilema lebal, baal may avid. First option, says the Gemara, if we're talking about a man, maybe we're talking about the husband. The Gemara asks, wait, but what did the husband do? And continues the Gemara and says, "V'chitema di'it be'avon bad kelei maya." Maybe, says the Gemara, it is true that a man brought his wife to Bet HaMikdash. She's standing there, he's standing there, but maybe something else will happen. She will drink the water, but he will be checked for his avonot. Because who knows, maybe he himself did an avon of Sotah. Maybe he's an adulterer. So he's bringing her. She will drink the water, but who will die? Maybe he will die, not her. That's the Hava Amina that the Gemara puts upon to us, which is very interesting because up till now we did not see the tekes of Isha Sotah as something that has to do in any way with her husband. He's not the one being here in trial, and suddenly we see this Hava Amina that maybe when a man is bringing his wife, he's actually putting himself on the same trial. So continues the Gemara and says, no, this is not true, but not because it's not a good idea, but for a different reason. Why says the Gemara, we have a Baraita that actually destroys this idea that we had, because if the husband has an avon, then the water will not even check his wife. The whole story of Isha Sotah can take place only if the husband himself is naki me'avon. And that is why the Gemara says, no, this oto that was in the Mishnah is talking about the boel, and when the woman is on trial in Bet HaMikdash, so anything that happens to her will happen to the adulterer as well. Even though he's not present with us, right here, it will happen to him wherever he is. But the Hava Amina here is very interesting, and the statement of the Gemara is very interesting, the Baraita that the Gemara brought, that we now have another rule in Hilchot Sotah that the husband has to be naki me'avon. And our question is, which avon are we talking about? I mean, the Tanya did not say what kind of avon, and reading the pshat of the Baraita, it looked as if we're talking about whether or not the husband himself was being unfaithful to his wife, or being an adulterer himself. But as we will see, the Rishonim did not read the Gemara in such a sense, and they looked for a different kind of avon. So let's begin with Rashi. Rashi says, what is the avon that the man has to be cleaned from? It says Rashi, the avon sheba alea leachar shenistera. בזמן שהאישה מנוקה מעוון שלא בא עליה משנאסרה עליו האישה. Okay, so this Rashi is surprising, and actually I find him a little difficult because Rashi says, no, yeah, we're not talking about the question whether or not the husband is an adulterer or unfaithful. No, what we're interested in is whether or not after the husband decided to take the wife to Beit HaMikdash because he did kinui and there was a stira, what does he do between that point of time till bringing her to Beit HaMikdash? If on this time he decides to have issue with his wife, that means he doesn't really care about the rules of the water, and therefore the water will not work for him. So this avon is not about the relationship between the man and the woman, or any problems that they had in their relationship, or any chataim in the sexual sense that the husband done. No, it's part of the procedure of Sotah that the husband is destroying, and that's why the water will not work. It's really taking this idea of avon ha'ish and making it very, very, very specific. On the other hand, if we look at the Rambam has a totally different tune. The Rambam in Perek Bet and in Perek Gimel says the following. First, let's read Perek Bet al-Chachet. כל איש שבא ביאה אסורה מימיו אחרי שהבדיל, אין המים המערערים בודקים את אשתו. ואפילו בעל ארוסתו בבית חמים שאסורה מדברי סופרים, אין המים בודקים את אשתו, שנאמר ונקרא איש מעוון והאישה היא תישא את עוונה, בזמן שיש מנוקה מעוון, האישה נושאת את עוונה. Says the Rambam, once a man grows, and he's a gadol, any bi'a asura, even if it was asura midivre sofrim, that he has done have nothing to do with this specific wife or this specific story. If he himself had problematic conduct in his bi'ot, also in a much lower level, we're not talking about niuf, we're talking isurim midivre sofrim, the water will not work for him. The Rambam in Sotah Perek Gimel continues and stresses that if such a man brings his wife to the Beit HaMikdash, she's being over an avera. So I'm reading Perek Gimel Yud Zayin Yud Chet Yud Tet. First, the Rambam says in Halacha Yud Zayin, describes the story of the Sotah, and he says, כל הדברים הללו בשלא חטא הבעל מעולם. אבל אם בעל בעילה של איסור, אין המים בודקים את אשתו, כמו שבארנו. ואם עבר והשקע את אשתו, הרי זה מוסיף על חטאתו פשע, שגורם לשם המפורש עם אכל המים לבטלה, ומוצילה אז מי סוטה שאשתו אומרת לאחרות שזינת ולא בדקו בה המים, והיא לא תדע שמעשה הבעל גרמו. לפיכך, משרבו המנאפים בגלוי בבית שני, ביטלו הסנהדרין את מי המרים, וסמכו על הכתוב בקבלה, לא יפקוד על בנותיכם כי תזננה ועל כלותיכם כי תהנה. This Rambam is really fantastic. First he says, he repeats the idea in Perek Bet, any sin that the husband has done in the realm of bilot of Isur will stop the water from working. And then if this husband takes his wife after kinui v'stira, he's a big chote for two different reasons. One, he's causing the name of God to be erased for no reason, and that's a big avera. And second of all, his wife doesn't know that he had problematic conduct. So maybe she actually did sin, and she's drinking the water, nothing happens, and she doesn't see a scoop for herself. But she doesn't know that the reason that the water is not working is because of the husband, not her. So he's creating a laws on the water. And how could she know about his conduct? And continues the Rambam and says, where do we learn this from? You should know that in Beit Sheni, the Sanhedrin themselves said no more drinking of water. Why? Because of a pasuk in Hosea, lo efkod al bnotechem ki tiznena ve'al kalotechem ki te'enaf. Where did the Rambam bring this idea from? It was not written in our sugya, in Daf Kafchet. So Rashi took our sugya and made it the smallest thing that he possibly could, I think. But the Rambam is taking the sugya and making it very, very wide. What is the Rambam based on? So we saw the machloket, and the question of the basis is something that a lot of Rishonim of Rambam said. And if we read the entire Masechta, we will find that in the end of the Masechta, in Sotah Daf Mem Zayin, there we find the pasuk that the Rambam used as a tam, or his tam and smach, for his klal. So Sotah Daf Mem Zayin, there's a Mishnah there at the end, starting from Eglah Rufa, continuing to Sotah, and the Mishnah says that many things that used to be are no longer done. The first is Eglah Rufa, Misharabu Aratzchanim, Batla Eglah Rufa. When we'll get to Eglah Rufa, we'll learn about that. And continues the Mishnah and says, Misharabu Amenafim, Pasku Amayim Amarim. ורבי יוחנן בן זכאי פסיקן שנאמר לו יפקוד על בנותיכם כי תזננה ועל כלותיכם כי תהנפנה. So here, there is a very interesting statement. if the country, the Chevra of Am Yisrael, is becoming parut zeniyuf, then there won't be water anymore. And we also have another place that might connect to the Rambam in Daf Yud that we already learned. That Rabbi Yochanan said that anyone who's mezaneh his ishto mezanat alav, that a lot of times, says Rabbi Yochanan, the znut of a wife is because of the znut of a husband. So these two things definitely connect to what the Rambam said, and they look like strong tmicha in his things, rayot for the Rambam, and kushiyot on Rashi. A surprising thing that we see in the Meiri, that the Meiri Dafka looks at the Gemara and the Mishnah and Daf Mem Zayin and says, this Mishnah that seems to be a raya for the Rambam is actually against the Rambam and pro Rashi. Let's see what the Meiri says. The Meiri first quotes the Mishnah and Daf Mem Zayin and says, ומכאן הביאו ראיה, רבים ראיה לדברי גדולי המחברים שכתבו כל אבות ביה שבימיו מעכב את המים מלבדוק את אשתו. Says the Meiri, many people use this Gemara to be mitaretz the Rambam, to bring a raya for the Rambam. Ve'ani tamea, says the Meiri, I don't understand. אם מכוח סוגיה זו אתה בא, אף על עוון בניו ובנותיו יעכב. Says the Meiri, this cannot be a proof for the Rambam, because this sugya says that even if not the husband, if somebody in his close family is being problematic in bia, man or woman, not him, then also the water won't work. So this is much larger than what the Rambam said. The Rambam talked about the husband, and the sugya here is talking about the society. So says the Meiri, this cannot be proof for the Rambam, but it is proof for Rashi. Why? אלא שאנו מפרשים שכל בני ביתו פרוצים בזימה, והוא אינו מוחה, אף הוא פרוץ בזימה, ומאחר שפרוץ בזימה, חושדים אותו להיות בעלי אחר הסתירה. The Meiri says, if the society is not really thinking about sexuality in a halachic and Torani way, so we also don't expect him to be shomer the rules of kinui v'stira, and maybe he did what Rashi talked about, that he was doing yasei yishub with his wife after kinui v'stira. I don't know if the Meiri's claim at the end that this sugya is a proof for Rashi is so convincing. But the Meiri definitely did ask a good question on the Rambam. That we see here a different criteria, a much easier way to lose the water, not only the problem in the husband, but a problem in the society or in his close vicinity, not his chataim, but chataim of other people around him. The Ramban also asks a similar question like the Meiri, but reaches a different conclusion. The Ramban on the Torah in Bamidbar Perek says, והנה, אין בכל משפטי התורה דבר תלוי בנס זולתי העניין הזה, שהוא פלא ונס קבוע שיעשה בישראל, ואותם רובם עושים רצונו של מקום, כי חפץ למען צדקו לייסר אנשים שלא תעשנה כזימת יתר העמים, ולנקות ישראל מן הממזירות שיהיו ראויים להשרות שכינה בתוכם. ולפיכך פסק העניין הזה משעה שנתקלקל בעבירות, משעה שנתקלקלו בעבירות, כמו שאמרו, משרבו הנואפים פסקו מי סוטה. ואין הכתוב אומר שתהיינה האנשים הנואפות פטורות מן העוון בעבור שבעליהם נואפים, רק שלא יהיה נעשה בהם הנס הגדול הזה שהוא נעשה להם לכבודם להיותם עם קדוש, והם לא יבינו בטובה הזאת ולא יחפצו בה. וזה טעם מה שאמרו, ונקרא איש מעוון. בזמן שיש מנוקה מעוון, מים בודקים את אשתו, אין איש מנוקה מעוון, אין המים בודקים את אשתו. והנקראנו שלא בא לה משקינא ונסתרה, that's Rashi, ויש מפרשים שאם הבעל בעל שום בעילה אסורה כל המעוון להם בודקים אותה, והעולה מן ההלכה שם, שאפילו היו בניו ובנותיו נואפים ולא קהה מהם לא היו בודקים. והכלל שהוא נס וכבוד לישראל. So the Ramban really offers a different call, not Rashi, not Rambam, but taking the sugya of Daf Zayin and taking it literally and saying, yes, if the society, even not the man, but not Notav, are putzi, the water will not work. Why? Because Sotah is a miracle. It is nes v'pele. It is something that has to be desired by people, that they see themselves as an that wants to keep these halachot and to have shechina inside of them. So if the society is not close to this idea, the water will not work, and therefore even anyone in the family, in the close vicinity, or maybe in the close society that will be noif, will prevent the water from working. So that's the shita of the Ramban. So we saw here in the sugya an avon of the ish and three different ideas in the Rishonim. Rashi took the sugya and made it the smallest possibly avon that we could find regarding specifically a nida. The avon is yachasei yishut with the wife after kinui v'stira. Rambam said a much larger idea, avon biasua, from the moment that this specific man became old, a boger, and then any kind of biasua, even if it's a sur medivre sofrim, will prevent his wife from being somebody who's bichad can drink the water. And the Ramban says even if his family, not him, is parutz v'arayot, then also the water will not work. So this is the machloket between Rashi, Rambam, and Ramban. I think this sugya is important when we come to see ilchot Sotah, and many times, maybe even it should be learned in the beginning of the Masechta, because we learn the psukim, we learn the Mishnah, we learn the Gemara, and this talking only about the wife and not about the society around her, as if she's working on her own and this has nothing to do with other people around her, is very disturbing. And here suddenly we see that not only the man who's being unfaithful with her, also her husband himself is here on trial and unchecked, and the water cannot work or be part of Am Yisrael if we're not talking about a society that has a very different atmosphere and idea. If we look at the Ramban, or at least that the husband himself is not a person who is totally clean of any averot in the Tchum HaBishut, according to the Rambam. So I hope this learning of the sugya has helped you in building the big picture of Ilchot Sotah. And Be'ezrat Hashem, when we continue here, always remember that we're not looking only at the woman, but we're looking on everything that is around her, and that is part of the bigger story. Take care, and I hope we will meet again next week to learn together.